All right. Hello. Um, Hope you guys are doing well. I know I have. Ever since semester ended, I've just been chilling and having fun with my friends. So hopefully you guys are having a similar experience. I know a lot of you guys started internships or research positions, whatever, summer classes. So best of luck with those. I'm sure you guys are going to do great. But I, uh, I guess in my conversation with a lot of people over this past year, one big question is, I don't have an internship. How should I spend my summer? And more broadly, it's just how should I spend my summer? Not having an internship doesn't mean the advice I'm about to give isn't, or having an internship doesn't mean the advice I'm about to give is irrelevant. So yeah, over the next hopefully 30 minutes, I'm going to be giving advice on how I think you should be spending your summer. So I'm Ming, former CSC president and a senior CS major. Hopefully you know me by now. I just really like helping people. Most important, I over the past year have been able to get a lot of people into a lot of great companies, and hopefully I can help you land an awesome job as well. So I create an outline just for ease for people watching this on YouTube later. But this presentation, we're just going to be talking about, most importantly, just the action items. What are things you should be doing over the summer? But other stuff include overview and the mindset, making plans, and in the end, we have time for questions, even though no one is here for questions. But if you do, I'll tell you how you can reach out to me, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. But yeah, so I hope the main takeaway from this presentation is that the most important thing to be doing over the summer is to relax. This last year has been really, really, really stressful, difficult, tough. Professors weren't accommodating. Everything was remote. Freshmen didn't get to meet as many people as they should have. So relax, all right? Summer is the only time. Oh, this slide first. Like everyone's burned out, everyone's dead. Make sure, before you embark on any ambitious thing, to like make sure you have completely decompressed and are ready to. And I think it's okay to take as long as you need to, because at the end of the day, your health is extremely important and far more important than whatever top tier job you land or whatever. So yeah, relax, please, please, please. Summer, as I said, is the only real time you have to relax and decompress. If you don't take advantage of this, you'll suffer throughout the rest of the year. And to contextualize this, I created this handy infographic depicting the CS school year. So we start with the fall semester. This is when applications and interviews are happening. People are expected to be applying to at least 100 to 200 to 300 different companies, which is a lot. It's physically and emotionally draining. I think obviously emotionally that's like pretty implied. You get rejected a shit ton. Um, and seeing other people get offers will make you feel bad, even if you're getting offers too. But physically, like you have to physically apply to 300 places to actually apply to 300 places. Also, now that things are in person, you gotta go on site, and that sounds cool. And it definitely, I guess, is kind of cool being flown on site. But I personally like traveling by air just knocks me out. I don't get to do any work in the airport, don't get to do work on the plane, and this all compounded with a school year, trying to have a social life now that things are in person, trying to grow up, makes it really, really tough. I know my fall 2019 semester ended up being pretty bad. It was my sophomore fall, because interviews ended up being, I don't know, I got a lot of offers, but interviews still destroyed me. And I had to drop 2 classes. I only took 3 and did pretty poorly in all of them. So I'm, you know, I really hope you heed my advice and definitely take a chill pill for this upcoming summer. Um, it's just for the sake of the fall, at the very least. But as we also know, the spring isn't that much better. For me, I usually get really ambitious. I'm like, oh, I don't have to interview, so I can take all these classes. But that ends up biting me in the ass, and I burn out. And didn't we all just burn out this past semester? Just because it was remote doesn't mean that it won't happen again in the future. I think one thing is like the weather gets really bad. You can't go outside. There's no Christmas and our winter and Thanksgiving break. Uh, and like in this year's case, there was only 2 days off. So everyone, if I feel like, dies off worse in the spring than they do in the fall. So yeah, I know it's not great. Obviously, it's school. School is school. But I think the bigger picture here is that it leaves you with your summer semester right now, or just summer, not necessarily a semester. Um, if you don't relax now, when will you? You won't have any time in the rest of the year. And if you're going to use your winter break, which usually isn't a month long, it's like 3 weeks, that's nothing compared, like it's much more ineffective compared to having 3 months in a row, for the sake of, I guess, relaxing and decompressing. I obviously, my fall 2019 ended up being pretty bad, but in the beginning, because I was able to chill, I was able to chill in the summer. I was able to start my fall semesters with a lot of energy, a lot of motivation, and they all translate to great starts. Like at the end of the day, fall 2019, I did get a lot of offers. So, yeah, that was flex. My bad. But I should also want to note that relaxing doesn't equal doing nothing. Um, when I actually do nothing, I end up feeling like shit and get a little depressed. But um, but sorry. Uh, so when I say relax, I don't mean don't do anything. I just mean try to make the intensity like half of what you're doing during a normal semester at least. In the end of the day, you determine how much work you want to do. I just want to caution you from taking too much, because being super hardworking and stuff, leave that for the fall, because that's like when you actually have to. I'm just gonna give you a recommendation of a few things that you should be doing, but it's up to you to do your own due diligence, to be honest to yourself, to ask yourself how much time do I actually have, and choose appropriately. Don't blindly select everything. Make educated choices. That's the takeaway. And then quick summer timeline, just in case you're interested. In mid-July to August, applications will begin picking up. It'll peak around August or September, and interviews will start late August, and really they'll go through March and April. I'm usually done interviewing by November, but it really depends on everyone's situation. Luckily, we have a pretty big summer break this year, so August 27th is when our fall semester begins. That means you have a lot of time to be doing the things that I'm going to tell you to do. This leaves you a lot of time. Cool. So what should you actually do? Well, I'm going to be talking about 5 things today. Obviously, there's a lot more, and these, as I said, are only my opinions. Take it for granted. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. But the 5 things are LeetCode, missing semester, personal projects, learning CS, and working. Let's just jump in. LeetCode, obviously, topic of the hour. Everyone talks about LeetCode online, CSC. So yeah, let's talk about it. I guess the first thing is LeetCode for you? More importantly, God, I really wish I changed the subject. I should be, is LeetCode for you? I'd say I recommend this for anyone who took CS 445 or above. 1501 will definitely make it easier. But if you haven't taken 445, it is possible, but I will say that it'll be really tough. If you want to do it, I recommend you read Cracking the Coding Interview. I think it gives a great practical introduction to data structures and algorithm analysis, like Big O. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend Cracking the Coding Interview in any other context. I feel like the problems are pretty out of date to what you should be expecting in hacker ranks and technical interviews now. But if you haven't taken 445, so you've only taken 401 or 0007, I think it would be a good book for you. That being said, I do recommend you work on other things. If you are only on 401, 441, 0007, that means you have a lot of time left in your degree, and time means you got a lot more time to prepare. So maybe you don't do LeetCode this summer. You probably have another summer to prepare, and I think you'd get a better return on your investment, return on investment, I guess, if you work on some other stuff that I'll be talking about. So yeah, if you haven't taken 1501, I think it's definitely possible. Just say I recommend you learn these 3 topics: hash tables, graphs, and dynamic programming. You don't have to go ask professors for materials. I think that'd be pretty cool, but there's a lot of great YouTube tutorials online on these topics, and I think you should watch them and just do problems alongside them. So if you want to learn graphs, watch a MIT lecture on graphs. That's what I'd do, and then do some graph LeetCode problems. I think that'd be a great way to apply what you learn and also make up for the fact that you haven't taken 1501 yet. And I also want to emphasize how important, quality versus quantity is in doing LeetCode problems. Personally, I find LeetCode to be pretty overrated in the fact that everyone talks about how it's so hard because they did 300 problems and are still getting rejected for interviews. But to be honest, if you're doing that many problems, you're probably not doing them correctly, and doing more LeetCode problems is not the solution. And honestly, in most cases, you getting rejected is probably because you lack interviewing skills, which only comes with more interviews, or communication skills, which you can hone by working on projects with people or being a TA. So in those cases, doing more LeetCode will just give a lot of diminishing returns. Last summer, I did about 70 problems. I did one a day, and it was great. Over the past 3 years, I've done 163 problems. If you obviously I'm shit talking people who say that they do 150 to 300 problems and are still failing. Well, first off, I don't complain about doing 163 problems, but also it's over 3 years. So I average probably 50, 50, 50. I probably did about 80, 90 problems last year, and then like 60 problems the year before, and then just a few my freshman year. I'm going to be deep diving this whole topic of LeetCode because it is pretty huge in the future. Be on the lookout for that. And also, this summer, I'm really excited that I'm going to be doing, I'll be sending out 7 problems a week. So you don't have to choose which problems you have to do, which obviously might sound like not that important. But when I was a freshman, I kind of just willy-nilly picked problems, and it was a huge waste of time. I'll be sending 7 problems a week, so you can just do one a day, make it super nice. So get ready for that. I'm super excited. I already have all the problems planned out. I just need to send them. So yeah, my summer cadence was I would do 1 problem a day. If the problem was easy, or if I've done it before, I would do 2 or 3 even. And 1 problem would take 1 to 2 hours to do. I'd say first 30 minutes, I would put on a timer 30 minutes, try solving the problem myself. And if I solved it, great. If I didn't, well, regardless of me solving it or not, I would then spend a lot of time reading and truly understanding the most optimal solution. For a lot of these problems, especially dynamic programming, the most optimal do not make any sense at all, and you probably don't need to understand those. But most of these problems have some really interesting and nuanced optimal solutions that if you don't actually internalize and truly understand, then it will just come bite you bite you in the ass when you're in the interview, and you get the most optimal and they ask you to explain how you got it and you're unable to verbalize the thought process. So yeah, another huge takeaway from this presentation is quality versus quantity. You really need to understand the solutions. Also, if you start LeetCode, I guess just realize there was some thread on Reddit. I fucking hate Reddit. About how LeetCode isn't that hard and it's much better than comparable professions. And though I hate Reddit, I do agree to that sentiment. I'm sure you guys have a lot of pre-med friends, and they have to do so much more over a much longer period of time. For example, they have to do 4 years of excellent academics because you need a high GPA, you need MCAT, blah, 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 blah. I am sick of hearing pre-med students complain, even though it is deservedly so. And here are a bunch of other things that other industries need. I view LeetCode as the tech equivalent of whatever they do. And honestly, 70 to 100 LeetCode problems isn't half as bad as having to get a 4.0 or a 3.9 or 3.8 over 4 years despite taking OChem and I don't know, biochem and really hard natural science courses. So obviously it's gonna suck, but I definitely want to remind you that it's not that bad, I guess. Also, we do get paid more. Something that I like to tell myself is, well, I like to something that I told myself was that the thing between me and financial stability was just 70 problems. So hopefully that provides some motivation. Final thing, I just want to say LeetCode sucks. I mean, maybe it's not as bad as other professions or industries, but it still sucks. But that's all right. Or, it's okay. We're going to all be together. We're all going to work through it together, answer any questions, any concerns. And really, you only need to LeetCode for one summer. If you LeetCode for one summer, do it properly, and then you go through one internship cycle, then you really don't need to do LeetCode ever again. You'll be able to recognize the patterns, know how to interview much better, and it'll just be a much easier experience. Like, I'm not going to be doing that much LeetCode this summer because I did it correctly last summer. Hey. So yeah, that's pretty much all in LeetCode. As I said, I'll deep dive more later. So on to the next one, the missing semester of your CS education by MIT. You can access this website by going to missing.csail.mit.edu or just search missing semester MIT. Essentially, this is a 3-week course at MIT. It took me 1.5 weeks to complete because I didn't it's 3 weeks for them because they take gaps in between and they have weekends. I just buzzed it all right through it in 1.5 weeks. And essentially it covers all the basics. I'll go over it later, but it's this awesome 2-week course by MIT with all lectures and homeworks and notes freely online, and the lectures are really high quality too. Well, most of them. I thought they were really well taught. And yeah, it took me about 1.5 weeks because I would just do one lecture a day. As I said, there are homeworks. I wish I could say I did them all, but I think I quit after 2 days of homework. So at the very least, I recommend you watch all these lectures. Why? Well, to learn the tech basics. So there's a lot of things that are expected of you in work setting or even classroom setting, like 449, 1550, like Git, Unix, Vim, CLI, like how to use a CLI, and etc. But we are not taught this, and it's kind of just implied to know. And if you don't know it, then you're gonna have to spend the beginning of the semester suffering through, like, I guess, learning more. Whatever, just ignore what I just said. It's just really nice to be able to know all of this beforehand. So that way, you have a step up on everyone else. It's great for all CS majors. The topics aren't too complex. I think it's definitely accessible for anyone, whether you are getting into programming or if you're like a programming beast. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's great. I learned Vim through this. I got more comfortable with using Unix and all those fidgety commands. I got better at using Git, and I think it's just really helpful. A couple recommendations, as I said, at least watch all the lectures. They're taught well, and they are very helpful. It took me about 1.5 to 2 weeks to complete. And if you're a Windows user, a lot of it is on Mac OS and uses Unix. So you can either use Thoth, if you know what that is, Git Bash, if you know what that is, or Windows Subsystem for Linux. Just search if you don't know what Thoth is, just search one of these 3 and you'll be able to figure it out. And that should be able to be a pretty good substitute for what they cover in the class. Cool. So the next thing is building projects. Obviously, another big topic. Everyone's always talking about this. Like, I need to get 3 projects on my resume or some stupid shit like that. There might be a guide on how to do a personal project. I don't know. It's really self-motivated. Do what you want to do. And I think that directly leads to my next point. The key to personal projects is self-interest. Woo. Yeah, so essentially, like, do what interests you. I want to iterate, or I want to emphasize that projects never finish. Don't feel bound to whatever you're currently working on. If you have something that really interests you, just hop off and do something else. Matt and I were working on a project when we decided to stop and start Vaccinate PA. And that's obviously one of the best decisions I made in the past few months. And yeah, I don't know, try to let your curiosity guide you. What do you want to build? Is there some problem in your life that could use some solution? Do you want to rebuild something? I think I have a later slide on this, so I'm gonna stop rambling. But if you can't really answer what you want to build, I really can't answer that myself. Here are a few ideas. Games are a classic. Everyone starts out playing, like making their own games. I think that's pretty fun. Portfolio website. Learn web dev. If you don't know it, then you can host it, and then you can put it on your resume, and recruiters can look at it. And I don't know. I think that's pretty great. And then another great thing is remaking something that already exists. Not everything has to be novel. Vaccinate PA was not novel. Vaccinate, like we took the idea from Vaccinate California and we made it ours. Well, we didn't make it ours as in like we claim we made it is completely novel or whatever, but we just took ownership of it, and I think we did a pretty good job. Um, and obviously, as I said, try and find a problem in your life and try to fix it. That's obviously really hard. And sometimes these problems are like so big, maybe like you should be getting paid millions and millions to solve them. But any problem, one like going back to like, let me think of a different one that isn't Vaccinate PA. I guess another problem was like that like Matt and I solved was like seniors and juniors and seniors were always answering the same questions to freshmen and sophomores. So how do you like compartmentalize all that knowledge? Well, we created the CS wiki. So I think finding these niche issues and trying to make a solution for it, even if you don't succeed, it will be a great learning experience and something you can put on your resume. Even though that shouldn't be the reason. Putting things on your resume shouldn't be the reason why you do it. But back to plugs, I guess the number three one is getting started guide. So if you're interested in something but don't know where to start, we got the guide for you. We recently came out with getting started with web dev. We have one on Git. I think those are the only two right now, but we have a bunch more in the works. Let us know if you want to help. By the way, I think everyone has something great to. I think everyone in this world has something great to tell, a great story to tell. But I think also along that line, if you don't really know where to start, because there is so much to learn out there, my recommendation would be web dev. So start with the basics: HTML, CSS, JavaScript. I really like Traversing Media. He has great videos. You can watch his. And we got the wiki guide. I wrote stuff on there that deep dives more into my own thoughts on how you should be approaching it. I guess web dev learning. And I guess like once you learn the basics, I think it just becomes much easier to get the ball rolling. Once you learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you can pick some framework like React, Django, Ruby on Rails, and I don't know, it becomes a really fun, enjoyable process. Definitely for me in the beginning, it was really stressful. I was overwhelmed a lot, but after you take that first step and then that second step and third step, it just becomes much more fluid, much more easy, and getting these projects become like a piece of cake. Something else you could do is read programming books. Something I would do like the past few years. I don't think I'll do it anymore. But it's not as practical as actual coding because you're literally just reading. And I'd recommend, if you're going to read a programming book, to actually program on the side as well. But it does provide like good theoretical insight, and it's much more structured. So what I just told you and what the wiki guides do, they don't tell you like do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here are the 5 things you should be doing in strict order. But books do, right? You start from chapter 1, then go 2 and 3 and 4. So if you need that structure to learn more things, I think books would be a great thing. Great way to start. And there's a bunch of free books on PitCat for Pitt students. Just go this link, search the book you want. Pretty much every language, you can learn any language you want, just search it. You can also, I don't know, go online, watch a course on it. There's a great, there's a plethora of resources that you can be using to learn. Cool, so next, I guess, is learning CS topics. And I actually got a good amount of flack on this, which I guess I do understand. But I guess the bigger picture here is you don't have to take a CS course at Pitt to learn CS. There are a ton of great free courses online teaching various CS stuff, and obviously it's good to have those prereqs, but don't let the fact that you don't have these prereqs prevent you from learning the things that you want to learn. If you're really interested in compilers or networking or AI, like try it, like read a textbook about it and like do some projects related to it. And if it's super difficult, maybe you do need those prereqs. But if it's not, then like fuck yeah, like you learn the stuff you did way earlier than you would have, right? Because if you didn't take that like, leap of faith, then you would have waited to take the prereqs, and then that'd be like at least one semester, and then you would actually get to take the course you want. So then like 2 semesters, you get to you accomplish what you already wanted to do a year before. That's pretty much what I want to say. And I really like reading textbooks. I don't know. Here are oh, I don't know. I said textbooks. There's a lot of great free courses online. About like just CS courses, just all the lectures, and a lot of them, like the MIT course I just plugged, will also include the notes and the homeworks that you can follow on compilers, networking, operating systems, AI, machine learning, security, how to get bug bounties, and also databases. The CMU has a great databases course that is completely free online. And this is why I want to say reading textbooks, because there are a lot of CS textbooks on Pitt CSC, and it's definitely something I enjoy. I know I read the first chapter of Concrete Mathematics by Donald Knuth when I was in high school. It was really difficult, but now that you're in college, I think it's definitely attainable. You can also read Computer Networking, a top-down approach. I thought that book, I read it for the networking course, really helped me understand, I guess, not only how the internet works and how Wi-Fi works, and like how just, yeah, I guess internet and just sharing data works, but just how systems are designed. And learn that definitely made operating systems CS15, like just reading this textbook definitely made CS1550 way easier, because a lot of the algorithms and strategies used in 1550 are identical to what's used in computer networking. So like round robin, FIFO, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then another classic is designing data intensive applications. It's also free. All of these are free online from Pitt CSC. I haven't read it, but I know it's like, I think it's about distributed systems. I know it's like a classic read and that you should be reading it your junior summer, but I guess I'll put it on my list. Sorry. I wish I could say more about it, but I do know it's a great book, so highly recommend if you're interested in learning about data intensive applications. Yeah. Cool. So the last thing that you can do is work. So maybe you don't have an internship or a research position or whatever. That doesn't mean there's any shame in getting paid and working a part-time job. It's better than playing video games for hours every day. Not that, I would ever do that. But, I think at the very least, getting paid and having some work experience that you can talk about in interviews, and, I like, just because it's not CS related doesn't mean it's not important. I think it's really valuable, and it's definitely something that people overlook. You can definitely put non-CS jobs on your resume. And actually, last fall, I went through like hundreds of resumes, and so many people didn't have work experience, whether it's non-CS related or CS related. So having the non-CS related does give you a step up, though you might not believe it. It definitely does give you a step up over other candidates. Having the money would be nice too. I definitely like to spend money at restaurants. Yeah, and also one thing that's great about working in these jobs, it helps you develop your interests. And I guess like you might roll your eyes at me, but it might help you figure out what industries you like to be in. I know someone. Well, also, I guess it's just like, you know, there's so many part-time job availabilities across so many different industries. Just working one will give you insight on an industry that you don't like, that you can leverage once you're a CS, like once you're looking for CS jobs. Hopefully that makes sense. Essentially, just helps you figure out what industries you like to be in, which ones you'd like to not be in. Also, I do know some people will build side projects that help with their part-time jobs. I know my mentee, Simon, he made a pizza delivery app or something for his pizza delivery job. And I think that's great. It's when you think about problems in your life, it doesn't have to be huge societal issues. It could be like, my retail job is painful because of X, so let me solve it and then I can use it, and then bam, like you got an idea and a solution. I think that's great. And also it gives you something to do. Like I just go back to the point, like whenever I'm not doing anything, I just feel terrible. So it's better to be doing something rather than nothing, in my opinion. So yeah, if you don't want to build a project or do LeetCode, I'd say at the very least work, make some money, meet new people, experience like the real world. Don't just play video games. But yeah, those are the 5 things that I think you should do this summer. Well, you shouldn't do all of them, but I think you could choose from for this summer. Sorry, I'm getting a bit tired. I guess that my final point, or my final thing to talk about in this presentation, is making a plan. So it's great to pretend or to think like, oh, I'm gonna do all of this, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a plan of action, it's gonna be really hard to accomplish everything that you want to. I am not a professional productivity guru, but I do know like having some semblance of a plan will make it much easier. Just in my experience last summer, around this time, I wrote down 4 or 5 things that I wanted to accomplish that summer, and then how I would do it, and I ended up, I think, accomplishing like all of them. God, that was a flex, not bad. But I think the most important thing that I learned is this thing called habit stacking. It's foolish, obviously. Oh, fuck. Okay, this is a slide I was supposed to talk about planning on. It's foolish to take on a lot, as I said, without a plan of how to do it. Last summer, I did a lot of things: CSC, LeetCode, multiple projects. So planning my weeks. Oh, and I worked an internship. So planning my weeks were the only way they all got done. If you're struggling to plan, I think this book, I haven't read it, but I've heard amazing things. Atomic Habits is great. And in it, one of the topics is habit stacking. This is where I talk about it. There's this huge article here. I read it. I thought it was a great read. But if you don't have time, essentially add habits to the ones that you already have. I'd like to start preface with the fact that like when you do things, sometimes it's out of habit and other times it's out of willpower. Willpower is finite. And if you use a lot one day, you'll have less to use the next day. But at the end of the day, your daily habits you do every single day, regardless of how tired. Well, sometimes you'll be super tired and maybe not brush your teeth. But at the end of the day, regardless of how much willpower you have, you'll still be doing your habits. So that's why you want to make these things habits rather than these motivational like hot dog on a stick sort of thing. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, like hot dog. Yeah. So James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, talks about this sort of thing called habit stacking, which is essentially adding habits to the ones you already have. And so what I would do is after dinner, I would read for 10 minutes, then I would do a LeetCode problem, then I would work on CSC or any other projects. And I'd do that every single day for pretty much the entire summer. And it becomes really easy because you always eat dinner, right? You never, I mean, maybe you don't eat a lot, but generally every human being at night has a meal. So right after that meal, I would do these 3 things and end up being really productive. So yeah, I highly recommend you look into habit stacking. I don't know what the next slide is. Fuck. Great, cool. I'm glad it's not on habits and planning. Well, I guess it is on planning, but here's an example of how you can schedule things. Every day, do 1 to 2 problems right after dinner. Right, 1 to 2 LeetCode problems right after dinner. That'll take 1 to 2 hours. So if you finish dinner at 7, it'll be 8. Then work on personal projects 30 minutes a day. So then it should be like 8:30 to 9, depending on how much time just goes by. Finally, read for 10 minutes, Right after doing that, you read for 10 minutes. It's 9:10. It's 9:20. It's 9:30. That's still so early. You got so much time to literally do whatever the fuck you want. And if you eat dinner later, whatever, you're probably not eating dinner at like 10 p.m. every single day. So you still got a lot of time in the night to do whatever you want. And definitely be realistic with your schedules. Some days you'll be super efficient, others you won't be. What's great about this last schedule I just gave is that if you're super efficient, you're finishing around 9 p.m. But if you're not, you're finishing around 11 p.m. And in both scenarios, you still got a lot of time in the night. Well, if you go to bed late early, I guess not. But regardless, 11 p.m. is, I think, a respectable time to start winding up and relaxing. It's not like planning 4 hours of work right after dinner and on bad days going to bed at like 3 a.m. because you decide to continue adhering to your schedule. So definitely be realistic. I don't know. Yeah, okay. And final thing, here are the takeaways. Just remember to enjoy your break. This is your time to have fun, to chill. Um, Take advantage of the free time. Go for a run, learn new hobbies, learn how to play an instrument, read more books, go on Tinder. I don't know. Feel free, to adjust your schedule to your circumstances. It doesn't have to be set in stone. The future obviously can't be planned. Who knows what's going to happen over the next few months? So be flexible, have fun, learn new things, have a good time. It's all going to pay off. Everything's going to be great. You're an absolute beast. If you're watching this video up till this point, you are definitely a beast. And yeah, that's about it. If you guys got any questions, oh fuck, I meant to say, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Someone told me that if I say the second way, it's better. So I'm trying to do the second way, not the first way. Anyways, I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. But obviously this is recorded, so message me on Discord. I'm always on my laptop. I'm not great at responding to Discord messages right now, but eventually I will answer them. And same goes for email. You can reach out to me. Yeah, right now it's just pretty hard to get to me because I'm away from keyboard, like going outside and stuff. But in a couple weeks, once work starts, I'll just be more disciplined. So yeah, I'm rambling at this point, but I hope you enjoyed this presentation. It's 38 minutes long, I think. Yeah, bye.